just dropping the car off at Italian Auto Centre in Otahuhu. They're going to do the Cambelt, accessory belt and water pump change. We'll pick her up later and hopefully she'll be all ready. Yeah, so I got here first thing in the morning, and the car's inside, which is nice. But they're just moving all the cars out of the way so I can get to the 147 GTA. There's a nice collection of car models. Obviously all Italian. Managed to find a second-hand inlet pipe as well, which is really cool. And now the Cambelt's been done. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Car Project Central. This is going to be episode 3 of our 147 GTA project car. So I've got the car right here. It has just had its cam belt replaced, but also we actually replaced a whole bunch of other things as well. So I'm going to go over not necessarily all the parts that came with what we were doing, but I want to go over kind of the costs of doing this and exactly why we did this, and give you some advice around doing your own cam belt change for one of these Busso V6 engines. So let's get right into it. What I ended up doing was I actually ordered all the parts from AlfaWorkshop. So you might have seen the previous video where I unboxed all the parts. This is the invoice for all the parts. So I can send you a link to the AlfaWorkshop online store and you can have a look on there yourself. A lot of these things actually come in packs, so it makes it a lot easier for you to buy. Sean from AlfaWorkshop really helped me with all the parts, so I basically told him what we were doing, told him the sort of the state of the car, and he was able to recommend a pretty good service regime for changing the cam belt, changing the accessory belt, the water pump, all the idlers and tensioners, and a full service kit as well, minus the fluids, because we can't receive fluids from overseas in New Zealand. So here's the list. Like I said, don't worry too much about the individual components because you can always ask the people from AlfaWorkshop. But basically it's all of the belts, the idlers and tensioners, and all of the gaskets that are involved as well. I also included a thermostat in here as well, simply because I believe that the thermostat was actually bad, and it was bad because it wasn't coming up to temperature when you were driving it on the motorway, for instance. So total that we paid was £488. Now this is excluding VAT, which is the goods and services tax over in the UK. We had to pay goods and services tax when it arrived in New Zealand, but it's actually still much cheaper to buy it from the UK, even having the GST and the customs fees on top when it arrives into New Zealand. So this is definitely the method that I recommend. And all of these parts are actually using really good brands, if not genuine Alfa brands. You have a look down here. There's all of these genuine Alfa brand parts, and then obviously with SKF, that's a very well-known brand. So you're actually getting all of the really good brands from AlfaWorkshop as well. So I think in total we paid around about 1,200 New Zealand dollars to get all of the parts into New Zealand and ready to go onto the car. And then over here is AlfaWorkshop. This is the invoice that they gave me right at the end. We did do a few other things as well. So one of the chrome inlet pipes was quite bad. It was really corroded. So I ended up replacing one of those, and that's this $25 item here. We also have the O-rings for that pipe, so these are brand new. Sorry, I should say the chrome intake pipe was actually a second-hand one. That's why it was only $25. So make sure you shop around and get a second-hand one, because I believe brand new they are really, really expensive now, and also to re-chrome them is really expensive also. So there's a little tip for you: make sure you get a second-hand one. So in total, that was around about $50 if you add the tax onto that as well, for almost a brand new chrome inlet pipe. So it looks really nice now. The engine bay looks fantastic. So I'm quite happy about that. And then after that, we've got a dipstick flange, which is only $10. I guess my one was maybe corroded, or my one was not necessarily working properly. And then we've got a battery terminal as well. Apparently they replaced the negative battery terminal, so that looks really new. That's a very common problem in these cars because they do corrode, and once they corrode, they don't really give a very good connection anymore. So that's definitely something to look out for if you have some issues with your car, especially around the electrical side of things. And here we've got the description of exactly what was done. Yep, so basically replaced the Cambelt kit with the bearings, auxiliary belt kit as well, rocker cover gaskets, and apparently some bolts were rusty, so needed to rethread some of the bolts. Again, that's fairly common. And actually, just going back to why we decided to take this car to Italian Auto Centre instead of trying to do the Cambelt ourselves, you might have seen that we've done a Cambelt on the Audi A3 already. The reason for this is because this particular engine needs special tools in order to do the Cambelt. You can buy the tools from AlfaWorkshop, but it's around about $400 NZ just to get those tools. And honestly speaking, we just wanted to get the car back on the road, and it was just far easier just to pay Italian Auto, especially with these engines. They're quite quite difficult to work with sometimes. You do have to use special tools, and there are a few tricks here and there. There's not a lot of room over here for the Cambelt as well, and obviously there's a lot of parts to take off, so you have to take off all of this intake system so that you can access the rocker cover under here as well. And the total for all of this was, there's a little bit more. Yep, so there's they added some coolant as well. They did a test drive and they replaced the chrome intake pipe. So all of this together was $1,378. So add it all up, it was around about $2,600 for the Cambelt, water pump, and accessory belt change. Now that might sound like a little bit expensive. I think you can probably get it down to around about $1,500 to $2,000 if you're not doing all of the things that we did. So if you look down this list, there's a lot of parts that actually went into the car. So I think for us, it was just really peace of mind. So this is probably on the upper range of what you're expecting to pay for a Cambelt change, and basically a full service, 100,000 kilometer service on one of these cars. I think next time around, I probably won't bother with the accessory belt and all of its associated idlers and tensioners unless we inspected it and saw that it was in a bit of trouble. And also, perhaps you don't have to change the gaskets as well. It is kind of recommended that you change the gaskets at the same time. So, I'm sure there's a few areas where you can save a bit of money. But I think in essence, around about $1,500 to $2,000 for a Cambelt change in New Zealand, if you're buying the parts from AlfaWorkshop. The other thing I wanted to mention as well, I actually bought a whole service kit. So I bought pollen filters, I got an air filter, I also got an oil filter, and a few other bits and pieces just for servicing needs. So again, if you can source some of that locally, or if you don't need to do that, then that's going to make your servicing a little bit cheaper. That's going to make your Cambelt change a little bit cheaper. But we just decided to throw everything into one box because we're paying for shipping, so might as well just do everything together. And honestly, the car's running really, really well after the Cambelt change, so I'm really happy that we actually did that. So thanks for joining us, and that was a really, really quick insight into the Cambelt change. And I would recommend that you do this maybe every 6 to 7 years. I don't think you're going to drive however much kilometers it's supposed to be. I think it's somewhere around 70,000-80,000 kilometers for a Cambelt change. It's pretty unlikely that you'll be driving a Buso engine, that much. So most likely you'll be hitting the age limit rather than the kilometer limit. The last time this car had a Cambelt change was in 2011, so this was definitely due. And now we have a bit of history behind the Cambelt, so that we know exactly what happened and exactly when it was changed and what was actually done to the car. Alright, thanks a lot for joining another episode of the Alfa Romeo 147 GTA. I will be uploading a lot more videos from here because we do have quite a bit of content actually. So look out for those new videos as well. Alright, see you next time.